Welcome. Today we're diving into stories that have, well, more going on than meets the eye. We're talking about narratives where the surface level is really only half the picture.
It's a great question to start with, isn't it? Is a story ever just a story? Sometimes what seems like a simple tale is actually built to do something much bigger than just entertain us.
Exactly. Think of it like a secret code. It's a way for authors to weave a whole second story right into the first one, hiding it right there in plain sight. And today we're going to learn how to crack that code. So you might be wondering, how do they pull this off? How do writers create this incredible story within a story? Well, it all comes down to a really powerful and ancient literary technique. And there's our key. The word is allegory. This is the master key that unlocks that hidden story, turning what looks like a simple narrative into a vehicle for some seriously big ideas. Okay, so we've got the name for our key. Now let's figure out how to use it. To really get what the secret code is, we have to look at its literary DNA. Okay, let's break this down. The most important word here is systematically. This isn't just about one character or one object having some deeper meaning. In a true allegory, the entire story, the characters, the places, what happens, it's all part of one big, consistent metaphor. It's a complete system. And that brings up a really common point of confusion. People mix up allegory and symbolism all the time, but the difference really comes down to scale. A symbol is usually a single moment, a single thing. An allegory, that's the whole shebang. Here's a perfect way to think about it. In a poem by William Blake, a lamb can be a really powerful symbol of innocence. That's symbolism. But then you look at something like Edmund Spenser's massive epic, The Faerie Queene. The entire poem, with all its knights and battles, is a long, drawn-out allegory for different virtues. One is a snapshot, the other is the whole movie. All right, so now we get what an allegory is, but it's not a one-trick pony. This code isn't one size fits all. Authors use it for totally different reasons. So let's unlock the four main types you'll run into. First on our list is the moral allegory, and its name pretty much says it all. The main goal here is to teach you something, a lesson about right and wrong, virtue and vice, and what happens based on the choices you make. A fantastic example of this is the old medieval play Everyman. On the surface, it's just a story about a guy who finds out he's about to die. But the other characters who meets are named things like fellowship, knowledge, and good deeds. See, they're not real people. They represent the concepts themselves, teaching the audience that when your time comes, the only thing that can go with you is your own good deeds. Okay, next up is political allegory. And this is where writers get really clever and sometimes a little spicy. This is all about using a fictional story to comment on real-world politics, often as a way to criticize the people in power without getting in trouble. And you've probably heard of this one. George Orwell's Animal Farm is maybe the most famous political allegory ever written. I mean, on the surface, it's a cute story about farm animals taking over, but really, it's a razor-sharp critique of the Russian Revolution. Each animal group represents a different part of society, and the pigs, well, they stand in for the totalitarian leaders who corrupted the whole ideal. It just makes the political critique so simple and so powerful. Our third type is religious allegory. This is where stories get really, really big, tackling those huge cosmic questions we all have about faith, the soul, and our place in the universe. And you just can't talk about this type without bringing up Dante's The Divine Comedy. I mean, this is the big one. The whole story is a literal journey through hell, purgatory, and heaven, but it's also a symbolic roadmap of the soul's journey back to God. Every single punishment and every single reward is tied to a specific moral or theological idea. It's absolutely incredible. And that brings us to our fourth and final type, social allegory. This is when a story basically holds up a mirror to society itself, to our rules, our expectations, and the way we behave. A really powerful example from English literature is John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress. Now, this one kind of blends religious and social themes. At its heart, it's about a Christian's journey to heaven, but all the challenges he faces along the way, like the slough of despond or the temptations at Vanity Fair, these represent both his internal struggles and the pressures and temptations from the society around him. So you might be thinking this is some kind of modern, clever trick, but no way. Allegory has been around for thousands of years, and it's constantly changed to fit the times. Let's do a quick trip through its history. It all started way back with the ancient Greeks and Romans, who used their myths to explore deeper philosophical truths. Then, in the medieval period, it just exploded. It became the go-to way to teach complex religious ideas. Fast forward to the English Renaissance, and you get these incredibly detailed allegories like the Faerie Queene. And then, in our modern era, it got retooled by writers like Orwell as this sharp weapon for political commentary. It just keeps adapting. So after all that, we have to ask, why? Why has this ancient literary technique stuck around for so long? What gives allegory its incredible staying power? Well, it really boils down to these 5 powerful things it can do. It can teach us lessons. It can criticize our society. It can help us wrestle with huge philosophical questions. It can even show us what's going on inside our own heads. But here's the kicker. It does all of that while still being a great story. It's entertainment with a purpose. And that's a combination that never gets old. At the end of the day, that's its true magic. Allegory takes these huge, abstract ideas, things that are really hard to talk about directly, like justice or faith or corruption, and it gives them a face. It gives them a name and a story. And suddenly we can understand them. And that kind of brings us full circle, doesn't it? Because allegory isn't some dusty old thing in a book. It's happening right now, in the movies we watch, the books we read, the games we play. So the next time you dive into a story, just ask yourself, what's the code here? What's the hidden story they're really telling me?